first game was Pokemon Yellow, and I remember it was obviously the early 2000s, so the Game Boy Advance had just come out. It was either my grandma or my mom got me a Game Boy Advance and Pokemon Yellow for Christmas, and I remember being really sad because I was like, oh, this is a Game Boy game, this is a Game Boy Advance. And at the time, like, I didn't really know much about technology, so I'm like, they're probably not going to be compatible, but they were, obviously. So I was hardcore into Pokemon Yellow. I think when I was a kid, I beat Pokemon Yellow as like Elite Four, probably over 400 times, because that's all I would play. And then I also, one of like the biggest moments that I look back on would be during Gen 3. Kind of like the same kind of situation. My grandmother or my mom, I don't remember, I was like a little kid, got me, well, it was a box of Honey Bunches of Oats, like the cereal, because I was really into cereal at the time. And I was like, hell yeah, I got a box of cereal for Christmas. I was stoked. And they're like, look in the box. I was like, okay, whatever, it's just gonna be cereal. There was a Game Boy Advance like SP box in there, which I still have to this day around here somewhere. I actually repaired it because it was broken. But along with that was a copy of Pokemon Ruby. And it was like a big deal at the time because that was the first handheld console that had a backlight. Because I grew up in the era where, you know, I'm like a millennial, so I grew up in the area where if I'm playing on my Game Boy in the car at night, the only way I can see the screen is when we're driving under a street light. So I ran to the bathroom and there's like a button to turn the light on and off. So I remember putting in my Pokemon Ruby cartridge and just like turn the lights off in the bathroom and shut the door. And yeah, I just played the game for a little bit in the bathroom in the dark with the light on. It's probably gonna be Scarlet and Violet, just because I'm so like, I don't know, I'm really finding a lot of things to do, even though I've, you know, played the game for a while. But in terms of like core memories, it's probably going to be Soul Silver, because I'm a hardcore like Gen 2 stan, and just Soul Silver with like the Gen 4 mechanics is just like, it's just fantastic. My favorite Pokemon is Tyranitar, because like I said, I'm a Gen 2 stan, and I do really like the big like kaiju looking Pokemon. And he's just like cool looking. He has like a simple design, but at the same time he's like edgy, you know? I gotta be Mr. Mime. He's just so creepy. Specifically, no, maybe Mr. Rhyme. It's that whole line. They're just so creepy. And that and Mudbray. I don't like Mudbray a lot. Last I checked, it might be more now, about 1,030 hours in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I really like Clara from the Sword and Shield DLC. I really like her design, and I kind of like how she's written as well. Youngster Joey. I'm just kidding. I know, I really like Lance from the Gen 1 and 2 games. He's kind of cool. He's like a dragon trainer. There was like kind of like almost like a plot twist at the end of Gen 1 where, because like this is the first Pokemon game, so you really don't know what to expect. So Lance is the fourth member of the Elite Four, right? So whenever you beat him, he's like, you're now the champion, or you would be if this other guy didn't beat me already, and that ends up being your rival. And then in Gen 2, he comes back and he is like the champion then. So I don't know if it's like Gen 2, as I said, in like the past or not, but Lance comes back and like there's a whole thing with Team Rocket is stealing Pokemon and forcing them to evolve. And that's like the whole backstory with the red Gyarados, is he's red because he was like forced to evolve. It ends up being like your intro into shiny Pokemon. But you fight with him against Team Rocket to help save the Pokemon that are being stolen and forced to evolve. But it's like hilarious to me because he has like he has like a level 40 Dragonite, which Dragonite doesn't evolve until level like 55. So I always thought that was funny. But he's kind of like, he's just a badass character. When it comes to first partner Pokemon versus starter, I obviously I'm gonna prefer starter Pokemon. It's just easier to say. For some reason, like Pokemon has like a really hard time making phrases official that spawn from fans. I think shiny might have been a fan term, but yeah, first partner Pokemon like just doesn't. It's fine, but everyone's just gonna keep calling it starter. So I don't know why they even took the time to make that a thing. It's kind of like the same thing with pseudo legends and powerhouse Pokemon. We're just gonna keep calling them pseudo legends no matter what. I think what they need to do in the next 5 years to kind of stay relevant is I think they really need to experiment, and I think we've already seen that with the Legends games. Well, Legend game, I guess. We don't know what ZA is going to bring, but I do think that the Legends kind of franchise is more of an experimental thing, and I think those games kind of breathe a breath of fresh air and new life into the franchise. But really what I think they need to do going forward is definitely listen to their fans. Scarlet and Violet faced a lot of backlash, so if Gen 10 comes out and it's just a crap game, then they're gonna lose a lot of fans. So I think listening to their fans, and definitely experimenting. They can't keep doing a Call of Duty thing where they're releasing the same game over and over and over. So definitely experimenting. I think they need to knock it out of the park with Gen 10. I think they will. I have faith that they're gonna go all in on the 30th anniversary. But they need to have some sort of really good gimmick or refine something that has already been established. I think they're so close with the raids. The raids are good, but they're just so buggy. I really enjoy raids, and I really do enjoy the cooperative experience in Scarlet and Violet, but there's something there that's missing, So I think they need to capitalize more on that. We are so deep into the multiplayer game universe. We've been playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, stuff like that. That's been people have been playing together for a long time, and I feel this is the first Pokemon game where we actually, Scarlet and Violet is the first Pokemon game where I think we actually got some sort of actual cooperative experience. So I think they really need to lean into that. I definitely think they should also experiment with voice acting. Whenever I was working on my video yesterday, I stumbled upon videos that were Scarlet and Violet cutscenes but with voice acting, and they were so good. But yeah, for sure, and actual full-on voice act, even if it was sort of Final Fantasy kind of voice acting where the main characters had dialogue and the side characters just the text showed up, that'd be great. I think the problem there though is it's such a massive franchise, and it's in a bunch of different languages that they would probably have to carve a lot of time out to do that. Probably my alternate art, Glaceon VMAX, for sure, which my wife pulled. She pulls better. She has better RNG than I do, for sure. She always pulls she pulled the Charizard, the shiny Charizard VMAX. I kind of forgot about it because I didn't even pull it, but yeah. So probably those two, but also there are other cards that I really like that are in my collection that they're personal best for me. I have the Charizard from XY Evolutions. That one, I don't know. That was cool because I pulled that one during the whole Pokemon card drought. So that was sweet. And one of my favorite cards I have is the Shadowless Red Cheeks Pikachu card. I actually bought 2 of them off of eBay for $40. I don't know what the value is there, but I really like that card for some reason. And then I also have the Japanese Ancient Mew with the Nintendo error. So what that is, they spelled Nintendo wrong at the bottom of the card. But yeah, I think those are my best and my favorite cards in my collection. Probably Shiny Zygarde from Dynamax Adventures. MitchMortar origin story, right? Okay, so believe it or not, I've probably been posting YouTube videos for most of my life. I started, oh my god, I don't really talk about this much, but I started with like doing, like, me and my friends did like jackass related stunts on YouTube. You can't find them anymore. They're all privated. But so that was probably when I was a freshman in high school, like middle school to like freshman in high school. And that was during like my really edgy phase where, you know, I watched a lot of Jackass and you know, MTV shows. And we did that for a couple years, and like towards like the end of high school / into my adult life, like me and my friends, we like those same friends kind of like started a band, and I feel like this is probably like similar to like a lot of people, but yeah, we started a band. So we made a channel where we were just like posting videos of us making music, and by that I mean we were kind of just like hanging out, and then there was a little bit of making music in between. So that lasted for a couple years. We never played a show in our life, but you know, I do have a friend that was in our band actually, he's like making his own music now, and he's like, he plays shows and was touring and stuff. So I'm glad that, you know, someone from that group is still like pursuing that. I wish I would have like kind of leaned into it like a little more, but so we did that for a while, and then I got like kind of hardcore into gaming. Like I was already like a big gamer, but once I got like a PS4, I like really leaned into gaming. So I made like a gaming channel, Raptor Squad Gaming, still on YouTube. But my brother and I, like, we kind of were hardcore into Destiny. So we made a lot of like Destiny content. And then, you know, that grew stale. We got older. And then like, well, me and him at the time were living in an apartment together. So after I moved out, that's kind of like what the nail in the coffin for Raptor Squad Gaming was. And then COVID happened. Yeah, so I saw a Leonhard video. He was playing Pokemon. I was like, it kind of like scratched like a nostalgic itch for me. And I never had opened Pokemon cards really in my life. Like maybe like as a kid, but I was more into Yu-Gi-Oh when I was a kid. Like I played in Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. But so I watched a lot of his videos, like just like back to back, and also it's like this was a lot of fun. So the next day, I remember my wife and her sister, which was my girlfriend at the time. My wife and her sister left the apartment, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the store and buy some Pokemon cards. So this was like right before like the Logan Paul thing, where he like, you know, paid a bunch of money for, you know, that box. So I went to Barnes & Noble and I bought Pokemon cards, and I set up a camera. I think this is the very first video on my channel. Well, it might be the second, but I set up a camera on our dining room table. The backdrop was our microwave. The lighting was terrible. There was no lighting. I just used like the camera. I'm pretty sure I just used the camera audio. I did have like a blue microphone at the time. I don't remember if I set it up though. And then I had an Eternatus VMAX box and had stuff from like the Sun and Moon era. I had XY Evolutions in it. Now, I didn't even know what was good at the time. I literally like had studied like what the card trick was before I like went out and bought the box. So that was like kind of like the start of it. And I did Pokemon cards first. Like I always wanted to make like Pokemon game content. But at the time, like, you know, my wife and I, we were like house hunting. So we had a storage unit. So a lot of my like stuff was kind of like in the storage unit. So I didn't really have like the equipment to be filming gaming content. But the Pokemon card content was like a lot easier because I was able to, you know, just take my phone, point it down, camera, mic, done. So I really leaned into Pokemon cards for a while, but that got real stale real quick, especially because you couldn't find anything on shelves. And eventually I ended up making the transition from cards to the games, and I've just been running with it since. I just wanna like, I don't know, I wanna be like an authority, like in the space. I wanna be someone that people come to, but also at the same time, like I wanna create like a community as well. Like, we have like a really small community on Discord, and a lot of the content I post does like spark the conversation, which I really enjoy that. Like people, like even like not with myself, just like people responding to each other's comments. You know, like whenever I make content and I see that, I don't know, it's like really fulfilling for me. So I guess the goal is to just do both of those, you know, kind of be like an authority in the space and also have like a nice, welcoming, inclusive community, which I think so far that's gone pretty well. My favorite Pokemon content creator of all time is probably Steve Sarumi from the It's Super Effective podcast. I just like, they do like all the things like podcasting, streaming on Twitch, you know, YouTube videos. They do like all the things, you know, so it's kind of like inspiring. And I listen to Steve's podcast like every Monday, you know, it's whenever I get up, that's my first thought every Monday. New Super Effective podcast. So I kind of see Steve's success and I'm like, that's kind of like where I want to be, you know, like Steve's always getting flown out to places, you know, people, like companies are paying for Steve's tickets. I'm like, that's so cool, you know, like this is like a franchise that, you know, I've been enjoying for a long time. That would be so dope to be like, the Pokemon company call you up, hey, you wanna come to Seattle? We'll pay for your plane ticket. Hell yeah, dude, let's go, you know? You know, I'm just a chill guy, you know? I feel like I'm the epitome of the chill guy meme, you know? Like, come home and I come home from work, and then I throw on sweatpants, put on a crew neck, and then I'm just chilling. Either I'm gaming with my wife, going on walks with our dogs, which it's winter right now, so we haven't been doing a lot of that, but I like going to the gym. I like drinking coffee. I literally like I said, I feel like I'm like one of the chillest dudes ever. Like I don't party, I don't really drink that much. Like if I do, I'm having like a White Claw like a month, maybe. But yeah, I don't know, just relax, chill. I like to cook a lot. I do love cooking. I think I do a majority of the cooking at home. Specifically breakfast food, because one, I feel like it's easy, and two, it's the most delicious. I like editing videos, you know. I would really like to do videography. I think that would be cool. Eventually. I'm not like educated enough really to do that. Like the software that I'm working with is just so outdated. It's from 2012, you know? There's a fun fact for you. I'm running this entire channel off of like a $200 laptop from 2018 and a 12-year-old video editing software. I also like to read manga. I do read a lot of manga. And by that, well, I haven't read anything recently, but I just read through all of Berserk in like a month. And that's a lot because it was like 400 chapters. So that's like one of my favorite franchises, like you know, probably manga franchises of all time. I wouldn't say an anime because, I mean, there's like the 90s anime, which is good, but like the 3D anime is just so bad. Ooh, like music? What am I currently listening to? I'm listening to like a lot of different things. Well, obviously like my main genre is metal. So let's see, like I'm listening to the new Paleface Swiss album called Cursed. So far it's pretty good. It's really short, but I kind of just like listen to stuff like on the way from work. So like I haven't really had much time to like listen to it fully. I know that August Burns Red's like not new, but like August Burns Red's first album turns 20 this year, and they're like re-recording the entire thing, so I'm stoked for that. But mainly like for the past 3 years, my Apple Replay has just been nothing but Periphery. Like last year, 2024, I think my top artist was Periphery, like 6,000 minutes, and then my second artist under that was like Bring Me the Horizon at like 1,000 minutes. So they're my favorite band of all time. But yeah, their first album turns 15 this year, so I'm hoping that we get some sort of like re-recording or like re-release with that. Oh yeah, Lorna Shore too, I guess. Success to me, like, the word by definition, I feel like it's kind of like open-ended. So like, I don't think I'm successful really in like the traditional sense of like I have a high-paying job, I make a lot of money, I have all these like supercars, right? Like, obviously not. But I think success to me personally would be, I find success in the fact that like I have goals and I have like plans to achieve these goals, and I'm taking steps to achieve these goals. So I'm like actively achieving these goals. And you know, there's like a Confucius saying that I really like, and that's something along the lines of, it doesn't matter how slow you go as long as you don't stop. And I feel I kind of like live my life by that, you know, because like I feel like no matter what like life throws at me, I just continue pushing forward. And I feel like I find success in the fact that like I'm still here, I'm still alive, I have a roof over my head, you know, I have a wife that loves me. So I do feel like I'm successful in that aspect. This question isn't really Pokemon related, but to me it kind of is, because I feel like there was like a point in time I look back on and I always like regret like making my decision. So I would tell myself, don't let peer pressure get to you. Like, don't let other people dictate how you should be doing things, how you should be living your life. And I say that because when I was in middle school, and this is like where it gets like Pokemon related. When I was in middle school, it's like when the Gen 4 Pokemon games were popular, but I had brought my copy of Pokemon Emerald to school. These kids in my class noticed that I brought it to school, and they started making fun of me for it. So it got to the point where like, you know, I just wanted to fit in, you know? And I remember they took the game, and we were on like the second story of like the school, and they chucked it out the window. And that was like really traumatizing.
Did you get it back?
So I went home and told my mom, and she got really upset. We like drove back to the school, and we were like looking for it through like the grass and stuff. And I don't remember if we ever found it or not. But it was like at that moment, like that's kind of like when I stopped, you know, enjoying the franchise. And like I look back on that, I'm like, you know, I just finished playing through Black and White. I'm just like, wow, like this was a really good game. You know, so I missed out on Black and White. I missed out on X and Y. I like made my triumphant return whenever Sun and Moon came out. But you know, I missed out on all of that. And you know, playing them as an adult, I really enjoyed them. But I feel like it would have been much more sweeter had I just, you know, not caved into peer pressure and just enjoyed them like in the moment when they came out. So like that moment really like defines like my mentality. I'm like, I think about that, I'm just like, I don't even talk to these people anymore. You know, why did I even like let that happen? Like, I don't even know like where they're at in life. But, you know, I look back on that and, you know, I'm just like, I'm never gonna let anyone's judgment ever affect me again. Like, I'm gonna be 31, you know, like I'm a freaking adult. Like, going forward, you know, I'm just doing my own thing. Superior Nintendo gaming console, hands down, 3DS, for sure. I love the Switch, but like for me, it's the 3DS. Like the DS was like the catalyst. The 3DS was like the DS but perfected. Like I love like the 3D aspect, but like just like the games that were able to be played on that were just like so good. Sun and Moon was like 3D in its own way. It didn't even have like any 3D parts really, except for like when you crawled into like a little hole, you could like use like your like the movement and stuff. But like I feel like the console at the time was like kind of ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. Like you see things like Nintendo has always been like spot on with like their handheld stuff. Like you see consoles like the PSP, that flopped so hard. I think even the PS Vita, whenever they tried handheld again, flopped so hard. So for me, it's the 3DS. I have two. One of them being my wife. because, well, first of all, she's been so supportive of this entire thing. Like, going into like creating like YouTube content, especially like Pokemon content as an adult, very intimidating, especially because like I feel like, I mean, it's the same with like any like gaming community, but there's like a lot of toxicity out there on the internet. So like even like making something and putting it on the internet, that is terrifying, because like you don't know what people are going to say about you. But you know, she's been like very supportive and has kind of been like my buffer when it comes to like that. I've been very lucky in the fact that like a lot of the content that I posted, like 99% of the comments are positive. So I feel like I feel like I'm kind of like attracting my tribe here, which is good, because that's kind of like what I'm going for, is like just optimism, stuff like that. But you know, I see how hard she works, and you know, I kind of want to imitate that. The second one really is going to be my mom, and because you know, I feel like I have like a really good work ethic because of my mom. And like growing up, like she was a single mom, you know, like my parents split up when we were really young, and like she was working 2 jobs at one point to try to support us, you know, like, and she was, you know, I feel like she did a pretty good job like raising us. You know, so I think about, you know, how much work she had to have put towards, you know, just for my brother and I to have, you know, pretty successful life. Like, I don't think we like grew up poor or anything, you know, like we always had presents at Christmas and stuff, like we had like consoles and stuff, but like being a single parent's gotta be rough. So like she definitely busted her ass to, you know, make sure my brother and I had, you know, a childhood. And you know, I look back on my childhood pretty fondly too. And I feel like, you know, we're pretty, I don't want to say blessed, because you know, I'm not like a big religious guy at all. But you know, I feel like we were really, you know, lucky to have a mother that was willing to, you know, not give up on herself and like her kids, and was willing to like take that extra step to like push herself and her family forward. Let's see, I got a lot of things in the pipeline behind my interviewer right now. I got some video editing stuff pulled up for my newest video, which will be out before this video probably. But got a lot of stuff coming. I'm not going to get into details, I don't want to spoil anything, but more consistency, more content, more engagement. 2025 is going to be the year of the cult, baby. Like that's what it's going to be. You know, like I think now is the time to be a MitchMortar stan, because last year doubled my following. I doubled my following. This year we're doing the same thing. We're shooting for the stars, baby.